Well, you describe yourself on your Twitter bio as a purveyor of Dadbod.
Yes.
I read you actually gain weight to play Donnie every year.
Well, what happened was I was doing a play at the time, and I had to be up weight for the play, and I decided to put on 10 or 15 pounds for it, and I auditioned for Orphan Black, season 1, while we were in the run of the play, so the play had already opened up. And I booked it, and then, it's TV, and each season is continuous. There's really not much of a time jump, so I have to maintain that weight for until the series is done, I guess. So yeah, I try and drop a few pounds after every season. I'm on a cleanse right now, right currently.
What do you feel the weight brings to the character, the extra weight?
Well, I think. I mean, who knows if I would have got cast if I was 10 pounds lighter or 15 pounds lighter? I really don't know. But I think it just makes the character a little bit more realistic. He's a suburban dad, and he's let himself go a little bit, and his high school football glory days are kind of far behind him, and I think a lot of people can kind of relate to that.
There's a growing, I can certainly relate to that. There's a growing appreciation of Dadbod out there. Why do you think that's happening right now?
I think it's a reaction to how ridiculously cut action stars have to be. Like, you look at, all these superhero movies that are out there, and these guys have the most ridiculous bodies. Like
it's a full-time job.
It's a full-time job to maintain that, and I'm certainly not the type of actor that would want those roles or could maintain that lifestyle. I really just, I like food too much, and I like to live and be happy, and I like to eat and cook, and I'm not willing to sacrifice, in some cases, my health just to maintain a body like that. And I'm glad to see that I get to play a character on TV that represents real bodies.
But you also have internet fans. I mean, I know it's good for you. You get to, eat as, a little bit better. But you have some internet fans who call themselves Bruuners.
The Bruuners,
they
yeah.
They love the Dadbod. Why do you think they love it so much?
I think for, guys of my size, they're just happy to see someone on screen like that. And I'm happy to represent guys like that. And, I think the term Dadbod is certainly out there more, but it'd be really interesting to get people to support mom bods out there as well, and spread that to both sexes, because I really think that's a more accurate representation of the world that we have, and if I can be part of that, that's wonderful.
Okay, enough about your body, Kristian.
Thank you.
I'm interested in your mind as well. You have an interesting backstory. Before you became an actor, you went to a military academy.
I did. I went to Valley Forge Military Academy in Wayne, Pennsylvania.
What was that like?
That was quite the experience. It's a wonderful school. It was a little bit like Lord of the Flies, where it's like kids in charge of kids, and it was an eye-opening experience. I was this naive little, I was tiny, this 13-year-old little Canadian kid in this American military school, and I didn't even know I had an accent or anything like that. I didn't even know there was a Canadian accent. That's how naive I was, and it was like a real wake-up call. Very suddenly to what this world is.
In what ways?
I got picked on for my Canadian accent, never harshly, but there was, certainly just a calling out of me being different in that sense. I was never a super athletic kid. I got better at athletics, but it was, I wasn't hardcore bullied or anything like that. I actually learned to hold my own. And in fact, I think it was the best improv comedy training I could ever have was going to military school.
How
because
so?
It's like, if you have an audience that will beat you up if you're not funny, if you don't make them laugh, that's that's the harshest training you can have. And I quickly learned. High stakes. Yeah, high stakes. I wasn't a jock. I wasn't a meathead. And
you're actually there on a trumpet scholarship.
I was there on a trumpet scholarship. Yeah, I was a music nerd. I loved playing instruments, and trumpet was sort of my main instrument at the time. And they had this incredible music program, and we were all on scholarship. We got to travel and march in all these amazing parades and play these great concerts all over the world. And it was a great opportunity. But at the same time, you still have this kind of vicious high school, all boys high school military environment. And I quickly saw that those who had a sharp tongue and could diffuse a situation with humor would not only survive, but would be protected almost. until they literally grew up big enough to be able to protect themselves if they had to. But I saw a lot of kids who were just like me, naive and tiny and maybe a little bit round, just kind of go through the ringer, and I didn't want that. And so I learned to have a sharp tongue and you know.
I'm really interested in this. Do you have any particular memories of diffusing a situation or kind of making that connection, that realization?
I used to do Chris Farley impressions. I was a huge, like he still is a hero of mine, and I used to do Chris Farley, Matt Foley, the motivational speaker impressions to make my sergeants and officers laugh. And they would go easy on me. So, it was like something like that where I would, channel my hero, and it would get me through some tough times if I needed to.
I talked to a young man here about a month ago who has a series called Letterkenny.
Oh, I love Letterkenny.
Love Letterkenny.
Love
and
it.
He comes from a hockey background. So something, kind of similar. He played junior hockey almost up to the pro level. And it was also interesting talking to him about what it was like kind of having these artistic ambitions in this all guys world, not the most kind of arts appreciation sort of environment.
It's true, yeah.
What did your old military college classmates think of you going into acting?
They love it. I mean, thanks to, social media and Facebook, I've kept in touch with a lot of them, and we've become really tight in the last few years. We kind of lost touch after high school, and I came back to Canada, and everybody kind of went on with their life. But it's pretty crazy. I mean, I see people come out of the woodwork and just send me a message saying like, "Oh my God, I just saw you on TV," or I'm just really proud of you getting out there and doing your thing. And they've been nothing but supportive. And not everybody who goes to military school ends up in the military. And actually, I was going to myself. That was the plan, but I ended up finding a different route in university. But they're proud, and I'm proud to represent them in the school as something on the more artistic level. I think a lot of people don't tend to go into the arts after a military upbringing like that, and it's just kind of fun to have that experience in my background for what I do and what I bring to the characters, but also just to,
Does it surprise you getting those messages from the old Lord of the Flies?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. But it's really cool to see how far things like Orphan Black and Murdoch Mysteries, how far these shows that I'm lucky enough to be on get out there.
So Donnie is kind of the opposite of a tough military professional, at least when we first meet him. What kinds of things are you drawing on to play Donnie?
Wardrobe and hair are a big, portion of it, giving me a sort of a bad suburban haircut and some bad clothes. It's like they raided my stepdad's closet. Sorry, Ian. And it just kind of, that alone right there kind of puts me in the mood. The sets and the props are so perfectly done on the show. We have the best crew. They're the most supportive, awesome crew who really care about the show, and everything that they lend to us or bring to the show helps infuse the characters completely.
So it's from the
beyond
outside
just
in.
the experience. Oh, yeah. It's a mix. I mean, I look at people I know from the suburbs and sort of my own upbringing, and I'm more of a city boy, but I certainly spent enough time in the suburbs to know what it feels like. And I just try to channel certain people I know in my life into the character. I'm not a father myself. I'm not married, but I certainly draw upon, my knowledge of being an uncle and my friends who have kids and kind of infuse all that into the performance.
Well, you have a special role in this show because this show has a lot of drama and suspense, and you provide some comic relief, even though the humor often comes from the dark side. What's the most fun thing about playing Donnie for you?
I think that it is a great mix of comedy and drama. I think initially when they brought me in, they saw the comedic potential, and they didn't quite know what they had with Donnie and where he was going to go, whether he was going to survive or not, because that's always a risk on a show that's quite a drama like this. But they saw the potential to do some funny stuff to lighten up the mood of the show, because the show it's a thriller and it's a drama and it's really tightly paced. So you need to breathe every once in a while. You need to give the audience a smile, and just being able to entertain people through humor really makes me happy. But I also love that it's not repetitive, in that they give me drama every once in a while to deal with. They give me stuff that has stakes, and it's not a boring job ever. And TV can be very cyclical. audiences kind of want the same thing over and over and over again, and you can get into a scary repetition in
where
the
the
writing.
character just does
the same thing over and over again,
yeah.
and I don't think many actors like to play that. So I've been very fortunate in that they don't do that. They really throw different things at me all the time.
And it sounds like comedy is how you came to acting.
It is. I mean, it's something that I've always kind of leaned towards. Comedy was always my interest. Watching comedy when I was a kid was a huge influence on me. And I think that's where I kind of found my way into acting, but I still love doing dramatic acting. I went to a classical theater school, George Brown Theater School, and Queen's University, and I really found theater first before sort of getting into film and television. But comedy, I don't know, I'm a goofy person, so it kind of comes naturally.
Well, there's a complicated mix of comedy and drama in the dynamic between Donnie and his wife, Alison, the power dynamic there. How would you describe their relationship?
She wears the pants. I mean, in a nutshell, that's it right there.
And Donnie's fine with it.
Yeah, Donnie wears the tighty whities, she wears the pants.
But it's also clear that they love each other.
They do, yeah. And they've sort of found their mojo and they found their love again, because when we first see them in season 1, they're kind of bored and they're kind of wary of each other, and of course Alison is very wary of Donnie and what he might know about what's going on in her life with this crazy clone conspiracy that's going down. And throughout each season, they've sort of found their mojo together, and they've found that love again, and they're very supportive of each other, and they're very supportive of their family. Family is everything to them.
Do you think that's a big part of why Donnie has so many fans, that devotion to his family?
You know what? I don't know what it is. I just try and do the best job possible and honor the character and hope that people like what I do. It's all up to them. So I try not to think of what I do or what Donnie does to make the fans happen. I just try to do it well and hope that they continue to like it.
Do you think there's something a little bit old-fashioned, though, about playing that kind of dominant wife, submissive husband for laughs?
Yeah, I mean, it is a trope for sure, but it's one that's accurate. I think a lot of people relate to Donnie and Alison because they can relate to the suburbs. For a predominantly North American audience, they can relate to life in the suburbs, whether they are in the suburbs or a city or a small town. Suburbs is sort of between small town and city, so it's those characters are easy to connect to, and yeah, it's a trope, but we kind of flip it on its head all the time. We have Donnie every once in a while kind of step up and be a real man, and other times he's more submissive as a partner. But it is an accurate reflection of the way things can go out there. I'm not going to say for everybody, but...
What do you think Donnie's popularity says about how we think about masculinity in 2016? You've been through these experiences from military, college to theater school.
Yeah.
You run the gamut.
I run the gamut, yeah.
And
the gamut of manliness.
The gamut of manliness, and so has Donnie sort of over the course of the show. What do you think all this says about masculinity in 2016?
I think it's changing these days. I think that whole idea of machismo is kind of dying off, or at least I hope it is, because it's really not my brand of manliness. But I think we're seeing men learn to be a little bit more emotional, more communicative, and more supportive, and believe in things like equality more and feminism. And of course, you see it when you have a prime minister who declares himself a feminist. And I think manliness today, at least for me, is equality-based, and knowing that there's a world that we can all share and enjoy together, and kindness and happiness. These are kind of things that I like to promote and put out there, and that's important to me, and to me that's manliness. Not closing myself off and being narrow-minded. It's being open and supportive of other people and their beliefs.
Well, thanks for joining me, Kristian.
Thank you for having me.